Welcome to Spleensplaining, a human design podcast by Leslie.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Spleensplaining with me, Leslie. I wanted to come on today and create a video with a little life update and to give you all a working example from my lived experience of some of the stuff I've been talking about, working with our subconscious, trusting our strategy and authority, and bring in the Daoist concept of Wu Wei, which is having trust in the life process and trust in yourself, coming from a neutral position despite what things look like on the outside. So since my last episode, there have been huge changes in my life, huge crises that have happened over a short matter of days. I really wanted to speak to that and share about that and share my process of spotting the mind and its activity when things like this happen and giving over to a surrender and a trust in the life process. The mind is going to want to judge experiences as good and bad. It's going to want to go towards its preferences and avoid what it deems as a negative. I wanted to share how I navigated through Wu Wei, through trusting. It is very intimately connected with the human design concept of being that passenger witnessing consciousness inside a vehicle along for the ride of life. Not trying to control, not trying to manipulate reality, trusting and surrendering. I had in the past couple of weeks, a huge opportunity to really walk my talk with all of this stuff. I had, unfortunately, my landlord at my massage studio was trying to push through some illegal changes to my lease within 4 days of me needing to sign my new lease because I have been trying to work more with my subconscious and bringing all this work out. I did some free writing about my conscious process with all of this. I was very anxious and uncertain. I felt very uncomfortable around what was going on, but I didn't know where my power was in the situation or what to necessarily do. Do I accept these illegal terms and just go with it and roll with it and trust that it's going to be okay? Or should I confront it? What should I do? So I journaled all of my conscious process, kind of get that on paper, and then I handed it over to my subconscious before bed and expected and demanded an answer because time was of the essence. This was a matter of days before I needed to figure out exactly what I wanted to do in this situation. So the next day, I was pushed towards a confrontation with this person. It was a horrible experience. It gave me a very clear and crisp and concise answer to my problem, which is I cannot sign a new lease with this person. Not even based on the new terms or the illegality of the situation or the principle, but simply how this person felt they could speak to me and treat me was enough to know I can't do business. I cannot get into another binding contract with this person who doesn't honor their word and who feels the right to speak to me in a degrading way. And this was already on top of 2 days before having been woken up at 3 a.m. by my dog vomiting blood. And my design, I am fifth line motivation. I handle crisis really well. Actually, I thrive. I come into a state of calm. I get really clear and honed when crisis is happening. I woke up, I called an emergency vet. They kind of talked me through what to look for, took her to the vet the next day. She's fine now. We're not exactly sure what was going on, but I had to really trust that she was going to be okay. I could have ratcheted things up to an extreme level in my being and lost my sense of calm, taken her for a very expensive emergency vet trip, but at the end of the day, I had to really sit with myself through the muck, through my mind's frenetic activity, and I do consider myself very lucky because of that guilt motivation. I think also because of my splenic authority, that sense of calm, it is a bit easier perhaps for me than others with different designs and different things going on to be able to access that state of clarity in crisis. It was simply a matter of me putting my money where my mouth is. Everything in me is telling me to hold on, observe. I got that reflection from the outside. Thank goodness the woman who took my call confirmed and validated what I was already feeling, which is she's stable. From the outside, this looks horrifying, and there are the shoulds that come up in your mind. You're gonna regret it. Imagine what happens if she dies. You're going to blah, 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 blah. And I had to assess the stream of thought around all of it, and then the deeper reality, what I was feeling at a core level. And it was Wu Wei. It was that Daoist trust in life. Trust that she's going to be okay. So that was kind of the kickoff to everything that happened, is this experience halfway through the week of, oh my goodness, everything in my perceivable reality looks like crisis. And there was this deep awareness that, Leslie, you have to trust. You have to wait and see. Don't have a knee-jerk reaction here. You can really trust that it's going to be okay. And I held to that. I didn't stop worrying. My mind did not stop making up scenarios to try to beat me over the head with, your dog's gonna die and you're a horrible person and a neglectful pet owner. Even after the confirmation from the outside that, yeah, this is gonna be an atrociously expensive visit. It looks really scary, I'm sure. And here are the things you can hold on to. She's stable. She's no longer actively vomiting. All of these things, so monitor her, just wait and see. And that felt very true to me. But you can imagine, it's so hard to honor that because the mind and almost those super egoic messages, that outer authority that comes in heavy with the shame and the what if and the, oh my gosh, you're crazy. But I held to it. I took her to the vet the next day. She checked out fine. And then after the vet, she comes home and blood's coming out the other end. And still, again, I felt I had to really just trust that it was going to be okay. There was that deep knowing in me. This is not an emergency. This is not a crisis. She's happy. She's wagging her tail. She's eating bland foods. She's okay. The crisis is over. This is a process of trusting, telling myself and believing in myself and trusting myself to know, if things change, you will do the right thing. And I know that and I trust that. It's a huge opportunity that I was faced with that. And it just kept coming. And it would be a few days until I had a confrontation with the whole landlord situation. I was stressing out about the dog. I was stressing out about my landlord, and I started to feel ill. And the symptoms mimic the symptoms of hantavirus. Now, a week or so before that, I had discovered some mice that were interested in our little home. And I had not been too cautious with my mitigation practices so far. And something in me was pushing me to go look up the symptoms of hantavirus. There is a 40% fatality for hantavirus. And I'm in Arizona. I had just been exposed to mouse droppings. Now, a week later, which is consistent with the incubation period, I'm having symptoms that are reflective of hantavirus. I was laying in bed with a high fever and just sweating my butt off, could not sleep, could not get comfortable, and my mind was convincing me that I had a high statistical fatality disease. I nearly passed out, hadn't been sleeping ever since the dog waking me up and all of this stress with my landlord. Things felt like they were coming to a head. It was just layer after layer after layer of situations where my mind could really go into an extreme panic, but then there's also this part of me in crisis where I do have access to calm and I do have the most access to my center. I really just went to the surrender. If this is what is meant to happen, if I'm meant to die of a little mouse disease, what am I going to do? What am I going to do about it? What's done is done. I can't change the past. I can't change what's happened. And it was a moment of total surrender. So I had consulted with my subconscious. I'm stressing about the dog. I'm stressing about being sick. And then I had a confrontation with my landlord, and it was highly unpleasant. This person, they felt threatened by me standing up for my basic rights and just knowing a little bit of what the law is and that what they were trying to pursue with all of these changes 4 days before I need to sign a lease in the middle of a contract was just not going to fly. And they got vicious and retaliatory immediately. And after that conversation, my subconscious gave me an answer. It gave me this confrontation with this person where splenically, if I'm going to go with my authority, that is not safe. I did not feel safe. To accept a situation where somebody is just going to bully me, is just going to threaten me with lawsuits and things like that, even though they're clearly in the wrong and I've done nothing wrong, I did not feel safe. And so, you know what? I gave up my studio. This confrontation happened on a Saturday, and by Sunday in the morning, I was out. The holes were patched up and the place was clean. That is my splenic authority in action. Does not pass the smell test. I cannot, in good conscience, I cannot, per my authority, legally, contractually obligate myself to this person anymore. Boy, was my mind going crazy on all of this. My dog's gonna die, I'm gonna die, my partner's gonna die because of the mice. I don't have anywhere to work. I have a business based in having a location, and now all of a sudden I have no location to work, etc. But what's kind of amazing is back in the spring, I had this stretch of time where I would wake up between 3 and 5 a.m., which is exactly lung time in Chinese medicine. I went through a course in school on shiatsu, and we went into a little bit of Chinese medicine. And so I just had this feeling, I need to look up what's between the hours of 3 and 5 a.m. It's lung time. Lung energy is metal energy, and it's associated with grief. So I thought, grief, over and over and over again. I'm being woken up at this time associated with grief. And just intrinsically, I knew what I was grieving, what I would be grieving is my studio space. Boom, that hit me so hard, and I really did go through a deep grief process. At that time back in the spring, I had no idea that any of this was going to happen, but I took it seriously that for some reason I'm needing to let go of my business as it is, let go of the way things have been structured, and grieve what has been, because it felt like changes were in the odds. And of course, they absolutely were. And so back then, in response to this, not only did I go through that grieving process very seriously and realize, not only the space, but just the entire business as it is, I felt deeply and had that deep knowing that things were about to change sometime in the near future. So I did that deep grief work, but I also started teaching. I thought, maybe the massage school is hiring for instructors, and they were, and I jumped right into teaching. And thank goodness I did, because I found myself now within 2 days having that entire part of my business cut out from under me. And thank goodness I have that little bit of teaching income to hold me over while I transition my business into what's next. Amazing, right? My subconscious has been stacking things up for me. This is the incredible power of this work, is you can actually be sort of a time traveler and see how you set yourself up. How did I know this? How did I know this was going to happen? On some level, I absolutely knew, and I responded, and I set things up for myself to be able to have that Wu Wei through this process. That's the Daoist concept of no choice. Life is fundamentally right. It's not good and bad, but there is a correctness to it. And everything that happens is ultimately for our evolution, for our highest good. I got a huge opportunity to walk that path of Wu Wei through. Your dog's gonna die, and you and your partner are gonna die, and you're gonna lose everything, and you're not gonna have your business, that sense of security. I've been talking a lot as me as a being so mutative, and being quadrite and sixth line and all of those things, being on that edge of chaos, of changeability and flux. But that's the reality. And I am so proud of myself for having navigated this whole space with such ease, and it didn't stop my mind from going absolutely nuts, but I found that place of surrender, and I found that space of it's going to be okay. It's all going to work out. This is all according to plan. And I can see how I have been even an active participant in the orchestration of all of this. And so I'm just so grateful for these awarenesses, and I really want to offer that to you. It is powerful work. You put things to your subconscious, like I wanted an answer to my problem, and it responded within 2 days with this whole confrontation. And I needed to be bold and act and really rely on knowing my strategy and how it communicates with me, putting my money where my freaking mouth is and walking my talk. And in the midst of everything this week, my partner lost his job and his car won't start. And I am just as surrendered and just as trusting throughout all of that. We're putting one foot in front of the other, and already that has shifted. To hold an attitude of Wu Wei, that Daoist trust in life. Of course, human design is very Daoist. I don't know how many people really know that, but the hexagrams, the gates of our human design Rave mandala, all of those gates associated with different degrees of the zodiac, those are from the I Ching, which is a Daoist text. That choicelessness, it is being that passenger in a vehicle. Human design and Daoism, to me, are the same. The Rave I Ching and the I Ching, a Taoist text, and then Ra's channeling of the human design wisdom and rewriting that, but they're the same hexagrams. It's the same book of changes. So learn about Daoism. Listen to the Tao Te Ching. There are audiobooks on YouTube for free. Soak in that pathless path, that choiceless doing, non-doing of the Tao. It's that story of, we'll see, the boy falls off a horse and, he's broken his leg and, oh my gosh, how horrible. And his father says, we'll see. Well, then the draft comes around and the boy is saved from the draft because he has this leg injury, right? That is such an encapsulation of Taoist wisdom, is we'll see. Anything that's for us is going to be for us. It's going to happen. And when things don't go our way, or things go not according to plan or unexpectedly, and we have these stresses and these things that come our way that we don't understand why this is happening to us, and there's so much suffering that goes on top, where you can realize, like, I'm alive, I'm okay, I obviously still have more to do here, and I will figure it out, and life will provide a way, and I just intrinsically know that. The mind's going to do what the mind's going to do, but you do not have to follow that. You can breathe deep, get into your body, and feel like, what's really going on? Is this an emergency? The mind is going to want to make an emergency out of everything. Do something, do something, do something. In Taoism, it's an overemphasis of that yang doing instead of the yin being. I'm just here. Where is the fire? We're in a form principle. So we are mostly yin. That would be the healthy, natural balance, is being mostly a yin creature, being mostly receptive to what's going on and just kicking back and waiting and seeing, being in that wisdom. And then every once in a while, you're going to have to be in that yang space and responding to things and doing. But for the most part, that's just the mind wanting to pressure us to overemphasize that yang, because that's how all the conditioning operates. Do, be productive. Everything has to have a purpose. La-da-da-da-da-da-da. You can't just be. You can't just simply be receptive and rest. But I'm here to challenge that. Human design, the knowledge, challenges that. Through crisis, through challenges, through whatever life kicks at you, you do not have to respond in any certain way. You do not have to believe what the mind is telling you or anybody outside is telling you about what's going on. See for yourself. Just we'll see. So I wanted to share that with you. It's been incredible. And of course, immediately doors start to open. I didn't need to figure it out in my mind. Not a single step of this did I need to figure out in my mind. I just took the opportunity of being ill. I'm integrating my home space, organizing that a little bit more so I can fit some of the holdovers from my studio. I had a beautiful cabinet that I painted and all this stuff. So I've been incorporating that. And here I am going mobile, and I have some options for shared use spaces, and I've just run into these people. I didn't have to worry about it. I didn't have to figure it out. Of course, there are certain actions that you are inspired to take, and it is okay if your mind is really freaking out. Give your mind something to do where it feels like it's helping, but ultimately, it's going to be the synchronicity. You just sit back, and especially, I'm a manifester, and so for the other types, it's even more so this process of just wait and see what life has in store for you. Just wait and see where the synchronicities and the inspirations come for your next step. And until then, you don't have to worry about it. It's not up to you. Choicelessness, right? Just trust, stay in your center, in your balance. Find something else to do in the meantime. All of that energy that I would have spent angsting over what's going on, that is patterning what's about to come. I have so much hope and so much excitement. I feel like I'm in a really good place. I am free. That situation with my ex-landlord was toxic. I wasn't feeling good in my space. I just didn't feel right. It was becoming super uncomfortable. Here we go. Life provides a way. Life provides the out. I just got to walk away free and clear after I recovered from being ill. Boom. Solutions start to crop up kind of out of thin air, and that is how it happens. That is manifestation, guys. I wanted to provide you a real example from my life. I cannot believe, just thinking back on that week of all of this uncertainty, really contending with mortality, having to give up and surrender to the life process. It felt really freeing to not be in control, to not be responsible, to not have to figure it all out. It is the best feeling if you can access that space of trust. Be surprised by life, realize the spontaneity and perfection of all of it. It's incredible. And I feel so blessed and honored to be the person that I am, have these experiences, and it's just proof this stuff really works. I wanted to bring this out as well to warn you a bit that when you are really serious in this work with your subconscious and really serious about here's where I'm at, I need help, I need a solution to this problem, I'm handing it over to my subconscious to sort it all out for me and provide an answer soon. If you're really serious about manifesting in that way, it's gonna come. And you have to be willing to find that surrender, because look at what my subconscious asked of me. You have to get out of this contract with this person. It's not good for you. Your spleen is saying this isn't safe. No way. In an instant, in a day, I had to completely let go of a space that I've been operating out of for 2 years. This was my first space of my own for my first business that I've started by myself. But not only did it free me of the space itself and this toxic landlord, but it freed me of that identification with any concrete thing. Me and my business and all that I've built and all that I've worked for is still intact. And it is flexible and it can change and it will survive no matter what. A studio space is not going to bring me down. It is what I am, and this business that I've built is so much more than the brick and mortar space that I was operating out of. And so it frees me of even the concept that my success and what I do and the beauty that I bring and the transformation and the impact that I have as a manifester is tied to a space, is tied to a building with a toxic person that I have to interact with in order to maintain that space. And these couple of weeks have been such a proof of that, such a freeing in me of my concept around who I am and what my business is. And I'm not sure how this is exactly going to evolve. I just know that it's going to be awesome because I've done a huge, bold thing and I've been totally willing to go through this process. My subconscious asks me to give up this thing, boom, willingly, done. My authority tells me to do something, I do it, and it looks crazy, but trusting in your authority, you can step out onto that ledge and you can take those leaps of faith because they are what's going to actually save your life, what's actually going to make your life excellent. You're believing in yourself. You are trusting in the life process. I can't stress how fundamental this is to building a life that you desire. You have to know what you're worth, what you're made of. If you play it small and you settle for things even though you know and you can feel and you can smell if you're splenic that it's not right for you, you have to get to the point where it's like, what really do I have to lose? If I'm feeling like this isn't right for me, I can easily lose it. I know it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't, but it's the only way is facing that uncertainty, because that's the truth of reality, folks, is that uncertainty. Everything can change in an instant. And if my business and my identity were wrapped up in that space to the point where I can't conceive of it beyond that, I don't know what it is, who I am, what I'm doing beyond that one tangible facet of my reality, I'm lost. It has to be greater. You have to find that transcendence. I just encourage you to experiment with this and just know that the bolder you are, the more willing you are to cut out what's not good for you, to follow your authority into the unknown, off the cliff. Take those leaps, folks, because that's the way. That's the only way to go. If you are trying to control and keep things safe and contained and known, you can only stagnate. Felt for the first time in my life I was being very proactive in giving with my trust in the life process, because how it has happened to me, and I've been talking about this in actually a couple of episodes now, is things have to be forcibly ripped away from me by life. And we don't want to have to get there. We don't want to be clinging onto the known and what we're comfortable with to the point where it gets so toxic that big disruptive things have to happen. And not to say that this wasn't disruptive, but I was willing. There was such an acceptance and a willingness in me this time that has been unique versus any other sweeping life change that I've experienced so far in my life. It's always I'm being carried off by the tide instead of letting go and releasing and allowing and accepting and just putting one foot in front of the other. That is the magic. That is the space to be in. So I really encourage you, put things to your subconscious, allow life to shake up a little for you and allow yourself to see the truths that you might be avoiding. Trust that a way and an answer and a path is going to start to unfold for you as you proactively step on this path of surrender. I hope you all have a wonderful, whoever knows how long until we meet again. And, get at me in the comments, and I love your feedback. I'm a quad right. I'm a 6'2", so your engagement with me and my ideas and your thoughts and your questions really enrich this whole experience for me and for hopefully all of us. I hope this has been helpful and possibly inspiring for you. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you're up to, and if anything resonates with you. If you have questions, if you'd like to see me cover a particular topic, I'm so interested in what you guys are all going through in this life. And subscribe, share, like, all of it helps to further what I have to give and what I have to offer. I so appreciate you, and thank you so much for being here with me. I hope you have a wonderful journey, experimenting with your strategy and authority and working with your subconscious. Until we meet again.